What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Triple F podcast.
That's Faith, Freakouts, and Flashbacks.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
We have another episode with another special guest.
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yes, hello, my name is Jamie. I've known them, both of these people, these lovely ladies, for quite some time now, and I can say it's been a pleasure and a ride. Happy to be here.
When I first told Rosa that you were here, her immediate response was in all caps, because I asked, do you want Jamie to be on the podcast? She's here. Immediately, all caps. Yes.
It's a must.
That's literally what she said.
You know, I'm happy to be somebody that you're excited to have around. That's a good thing.
I'm really excited because I know what be prepared for this.
Didn't prepare anything.
Well, I know the idea that you had in mind for this specific episode because we briefly talked about it and you immediately shut me down because you're like, I don't want to talk about it yet until we do a podcast episode. And now that Jamie is here,
that's even better. God knew exactly what he was doing because he brought you home at the exact right moment for this exact podcast.
All I have to say is, should I be scared?
No. Actually, it's going to be so funny because even the listeners know what we're talking about.
And I don't.
Yeah.
Basically.
So Rosa and I made a bet, I guess, or an agreement. We do this a lot, actually. Yeah. We exchange shows where we force each other to watch it. And I forced her to watch sitcom because I love sitcoms. So I forced her to watch Fuller House.
Okay.
In exchange for me watching Star versus the Forces of
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
This is great.
Yeah, this is great.
Listeners, you remember when I said we had one friend who's like an avid fan?
That's me.
Yeah, that's Jamie.
You have to appreciate the nuance of the series. You really have to.
Oh, yes, you do.
Listeners, I know you can't see, but Rosa just gave the hardest side eye in her life.
It was bombastic.
For sure, I hate watched most of that series. It was enjoyable.
But you watched.
I did watch it. I have thoughts, and listeners know my thoughts because every time we bring up this topic, I can't shut up about how much I hate watched this.
Okay, I've watched it through at least 4 times.
Whoa.
Probably closer to 7.
Wow.
Whoa.
And I haven't watched it recently. Okay, it hasn't been like a recent watch for me, but within the past year, I have watched it all the way through, and I love it every time. I've never not loved it. They both make mistakes, but mistakes are human, and I don't care what you have to say about how much you dislike them because of their mistakes, because that's not fair.
Wait, before you continue, let me just go ahead and press the hot topic issue.
Okay.
Pressed.
She hit the table.
Pretend there's an imaginary button.
Okay, I'll pretend harder.
So I've only managed to get through season 1 so far.
Okay.
But before I give my opinion on it, because I know that's what you're excited to hear.
I am.
We've heard Jamie's side. Let's hear your side. Why don't you like this show?
Okay. When I started it, I immediately thought, wow, this girl's annoying. And as the series progressed, I was like, okay, she's annoying, but in like a lovable way at times. And I did like the dynamic between her and Marco. And I get it. Like, even before I got halfway through the series, the immediate thought I had was, okay, so Marco and Star are obviously going to get together. That's the whole point of the show. That is the goal. That's the main goal that they were going to get to at the end. Everybody knew that was like what was going to happen. And I was excited for the build-up. I know you haven't gotten that far yet, B.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just the way that it was handled, that build-up, it just didn't hit with me. It didn't strike
Like when they
me.
finally ended up together.
Yeah,
You just didn't like that.
which I understand is not the creator's fault. I understand that they were actually rushed to end the show, and because of that, we didn't get to dive deeper, or what I think would have made it better, just to like understand that whole process of them getting together, because it really felt rushed. It didn't feel like they took their time to like forget about past relationships and move on into a healthy new relationship. It just felt like, oh, okay, we're just gonna skip a whole bunch of progress that should have been made clear, and then just go and date. That was it.
Okay. So before I share my perspective, can you give us your 1-season appraisal?
Yeah. Okay. So I gotta admit, it's not my cup of tea. I can only watch 2 episodes at a time per day because I really just find Star to be incredibly annoying. And Marco is such a pick-me boy that I can't stand him sometimes. Sometimes he's funny, but sometimes I'm just like, ugh. Like, especially that whole thing that he has going with the skater girl. That is so annoying. Like, I watched the episode I have in mind is the episode where like they went to go like visit Father Time or whatever, and then he just noticed like his whole life was just he had spent like, I don't know, 16 years trying to get a nod. like that's so annoying. So I don't love the main characters. I do have a favorite character though.
Okay.
Which is the only reason it kept me going through season 1.
Who?
Better not be Tom. It's Tom. It's Tom. Of course it's Tom. Like, it's toxic friends picking the bad boy.
She really called you out.
No. I like Tom because he's the only interesting character that isn't annoying. Like, what the heck was that unicorn head? I can't stand her. She is like Star, like turned up all the way to level 10. I cannot stand, whatever, pony head, whatever. I don't like pony head. Star reminds me of a boy crazy version of SpongeBob. And I do like SpongeBob, but SpongeBob is funny. Star is just loud.
Well, she's teenage girl.
What the heck?
So, with magical powers.
Let me.
Okay.
I've heard you out.
Okay. Yeah.
So here's my first argument. Put yourself back into your high school shoes. Remember the clothes that you wore, the way that you talked, the things that you thought were entertaining, the awkward situation, and the overall cringe. Okay? So if you put that into perspective, they're kind of just in high school. Like, Star is a princess and she's not exactly spoiled, but she hasn't had anyone to tell her no her entire life. So if she found something she wanted to do, like paint her entire self with glitter and lick the walls, she did it. She just did it. Nobody stopped her, and her mother would roll her eyes, and her father is every bit as unhinged as she is. So she's just the consequences of her upbringing. She's a little bit too pampered, and she's absolutely wild. So her character makes sense the way that they framed it out. So I can't even have a problem with how annoying she is, because they did such a good job of creating context to make that make sense. And she does have so much personal growth by the end of the series that she's learned mostly from Marco. Okay? No, it's not. It's not all good. She develops new problems, but she also develops like this more, I will be a leader and I will discipline myself to do what I think is good for the people, even if everyone hates me in the process.
Wait, back up a minute.
Okay.
So you admit that she's annoying?
Absolutely.
At least we found some common ground.
Okay, but is SpongeBob annoying?
Yes.
Yeah, and you love it.
I don't know what it is. Maybe.
Okay, annoying characters can be funny, but they're entertaining because of how free they are. They're so not tied by the expectations of society, and they're so not limited by their own insecurities that they just express themselves. And for people that work really hard to mask, that's annoying because they're like, I'd work really hard to put on this performance so that I fit in with society. And now you're just walking around with your mask totally off and you're being obnoxious. Knock it off. You have to mask like the rest of us. I like that she just owns herself. She's not worried about performing for other people.
The other thing I don't like about her, that is maybe 50% of the reason why I think she's annoying, is how boy crazy she is. I'm sorry, but when I was, what is she, 14?
Mm-hmm.
When I was 14, I was not that boy. I wasn't even boy crazy. I literally had one crush, and that was it. The episode she had with the Muberty, what the heck was that? That was so unhinged. It was like, I thought of, it made me think of Turning Red when just drawing the abs. Like, that was so, ooh.
Okay, so I also was not boy crazy, but I watched girls who were boy crazy and they had it bad. Like, they were down bad.
No, they got that right.
They were correct. That was a correct representation of the female experience at 14.
Maybe that's why I just don't like her like that.
She's just not you.
Listen,
couldn't be me.
I wasn't 14, but I was boy crazy at a time. So I could relate a little bit, which is why I don't necessarily hate her just because she's annoying. Like, that part I understand. I understand that it was like there's a specific age that she represents, and I think they actually nailed it pretty good.
I mean, I'm not going to disagree that she has to act her age, and I'm not going to disagree that she's annoying, but I find it interesting that you'd be so annoyed with that character to the point of disliking the series when she does change a lot as a person.
Well, I haven't had the opportunity, at least me, to watch the rest of it.
That's fair.
I feel like season 1 is just kind of like framing the world that I'm going to dive into.
Mm-hmm.
And so at this point, she's pretty much still the same, just a little bit better.
Yes.
And you're right, Rosa. I can totally tell they're going to end up together because the episode where they were like dancing at the ball.
Oh my gosh.
And then
blood moon.
Yeah,
ball.
the blood moon ball. And then like whoever dances under the light,
Their souls will be
entwined. Yeah. And like I was like, okay, if that wasn't the biggest hit to like them ending up together, come on.
It's really in your face.
It is, but I think part of the fun for me of watching this has been like, it's one of those series where it's so obvious what the end game is and the two main characters totally miss it constantly and have all this awkwardness and tension and struggle, which is kind of accurate to a lot of people's situation. Like, they'll like someone for years and years and never be able to figure out how to resolve it and never address it because they're afraid of losing the friendship, or they're not really sure they feel that way about the other person, and then they randomly get possessive and jealous, or they get really obstinate and they're like, that person's not good enough for you, and they're still not willing to admit that they want the other person. It's like they're not emotionally mature enough to be real with themselves and figure out what it is that they actually want, which is the other person, which feels accurate to a teenager's life.
A lot of that part was really weird. I did not like that. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil anything for me, but like the relationships that they have or that they form before getting together was chaotic. It was really toxic. I did not like any of that. But was it realistic? Yeah, I mean, people make mistakes. It was annoying.
Well, what I would like to argue that I think, or not argue, but just like, I think it's interesting that like it kind of goes back to what we were talking about to a previous podcast about how for a while we have seen so much like adult content, adult relationships that have no business being in animated kids shows.
That's weird.
And I think this is another prime example of that because like we talked about shows like
Adventure Time,
Steven Universe, the regular show, Mordecai is like the ultimate simp.
Yep.
That's how I remember you said. And so it's like we go back a couple decades, kids' cartoons didn't have this seriousness in the media. Like, prime example was, I don't know, like Hannah Montana. Like, she had a relationship one episode, and then the worst thing that happened was some miscommunication that was resolved in like 30 minutes. And it wasn't anything that was like introducing toxic relationships or like you were explaining, like miscommunication, not knowing, being too immature to say how you feel, and so that causes all this kind of jealousy and all that back and forth and stuff. None of that. It was just, you have a crush on a boy, you pretty much don't say anything and you never really address it. Like, I don't know. And so that's why it's kind of interesting to me to think about specifically this time, because that's not a new show. It's fairly old.
It's been a couple of years.
Yeah. So it's like this window of time for animation where all of those creators had the same exact idea of, let's make an animated show that's targeted for like at kids, but actually has really strong undertones of like the Jersey Shore or Degrassi. Like, whoa.
Just
why?
like adult themes and what is it called?
Mature content?
Innuendos.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I definitely agree with you that stuff like that has been shifting, and there's a general trend that things just become progressively more open, and then we overcompensate in the opposite direction. So either it's like way too loose and then we become super restrictive, or it's super restrictive and then we become way too loose. We're on this back and forth. But my perspective on some of those shows, now mind you, I haven't watched most of them. Okay. I did watch Steven Universe, and I'm actually secretly like a Steven Universe fan. Okay. I've watched that one several times too.
I'm a big fan.
I'm a big fan. Okay. I'm a big fan. And I think that what I like the most about including Star vs. the Forces of Evil and Steven Universe is that it targets these real-time problems and creates almost this parable or this idea for people to look at and be like, hey, I relate with this problem, and this was actually what the issue was, and this is what the result was. So you kind of get like either a live time play out of what the consequences of your actions might be, or what the actual problem is and how to solve it and what the solution looks like. So with the miscommunications with Star and Marco, they weren't able to sit down and ever just take the time to process their feelings and their emotions and like be real with themselves. And if they had ever done that, they would have been able to be upfront with each other right from the get-go. But they were never real with themselves, let alone the other person. And so then it took like 3 seasons, I don't know how many seasons, tons of different like situations and little problems and heartbreak and conflict of interest and all of these little happenings that occurred just because neither of them ever spent 15 minutes looking in the mirror to get real and then figure out how to say what they needed to say.
But they shouldn't need to get real. Like, they're cartoon characters literally on Disney Channel. Like, what is your, like, at what age, let me ask both of you, what age did you guys, if you could remember back to the first time you watched these shows, what was the age that you were? Were you a kid or were you a teenager?
I mean, I was a teenager.
I was a teenager as well.
Okay, exactly. My point. Like, you guys were able to relate to these shows because you were teenagers. But these shows weren't on MTV. These shows were not on, like, I don't know, ABC. These shows were on Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, Disney. Shows that are 100% meant to be targeted at, like, I don't know, like first graders. I'd say like first through fifth graders. Yes, because first graders are 8 years old or 6 years old.
Let's circle back here. Star versus the Forces of Evil. Who was your ship? Who was
Why are we talking about this? Oh,
Tell me the answer.
Oh,
This is why
Did I
she really
mention
did
this?
like the series.
did I mention this to you before?
I just know you.
Yes, I do. I do watch a variety of shows, and I have a variety of ships within these shows, even outside the like canon. But to answer your question, I like Jana and Tom.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a good matchup. You can't argue with it.
Do you know who Jana is yet? Have you been introduced to that
I
character?
don't think so. I don't
Imagine a
think
girl jumping out of a dumpster with a possum on her head.
Wait,
But
no,
she's
no,
not
no, no.
gross.
You have seen Jana. You just haven't been introduced to her character. Do you remember the skater girl? No,
so. Yeah.
you remember when Tom was introduced?
Yeah.
You remember when as he's walking to the school, right? There's Jackie Lynn Thomas on the skateboard, and a girl is riding with her on the skateboard.
No.
Okay, well, rewatch that episode because that's Jana.
Great.
Okay. I love her.
Jenna's a character for sure.
She's
Well,
great.
we'll
Also,
see.
I always thought, no, maybe I'm not gonna say that.
Oh, come on.
You know you want to.
Okay, I always thought that she had a thing for Marco,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah, I think that she had like a third party thing, but she saw how hung up he was on Star, so she just moved on before it even started.
Smart woman.
Emotionally
For
mature.
real. Because, like, if I were in that world and I saw Tom and Star, I'd be like, when's the wedding? Because this is clearly happening.
Tom and Star or Marco and
Oh,
Star?
right, Marco and Star.
Okay.
Because Tom is also my favorite character. He's just so cute. His personality is so cute.
You know, I don't disagree, and I love the personal character development, and he has like, okay, actually, sidebar. One thing I love about this series is like every character is living their own main character life. Like no character feels like a side character that doesn't have their own plot, except for maybe the 2 buddies that Marco had.
Okay.
I really don't feel like they actually have any like plot line.
Actually-
Ferguson, what is his deal?
I actually can't stand those two.
They're just teenage boys.
I had friends who, well, not friends, but I was acquainted with guys who looked like that and who acted like that, and I couldn't stand them.
That's pretty standard for high school, though. And you know those are the ones that always end up with, like, either the greatest glow up ever or they peak in high school and you're like, how is that the peak? So sorry.
For real. No, but I think because Tom was my favorite character in the show, that probably contributed to why I dislike Star as much
Because
as
she broke his heart.
because just the way that she handled the relationship with him, even after, during, I don't know. It just, there was such injustice.
Well, let me say this. Star had a problem with being told what to do, and Tom had boundary issues. He wanted to tell her what to do and was always angry. He has like this huge anger problem. And she's like, you flipped out. You tried to tell me what to do. I'm not going to be controlled. Peace out. And then she told him no. And he was like, I'm going to win her back. Watch. And completely ignored the fact that she broke up with him. And then he's like, I'm going to build this whole like carriage. I'm going to take her to the blood moon ball. I'm going to get our souls bound together. And then we're going to end up married and in love because this is what my plan is. And he really never like took the time to think about her feelings in that situation.
Not until later on in the season.
Yeah, he has like emotional
But
growth.
he grew a lot.
A
let
lot.
me tell you.
With his therapist.
Yes, and props to him. That's why I like him so much. But Star, and I don't mean to do these eye rolls. It's just like when I think about the specific episode, so much of me wants to hate Star without like considering that she went through her own thing at the time. It's just like, what's wrong with you?
What episode? What are you talking about?
Do you mind spoilers?
I don't care.
Okay, great. We're going to talk about it. The episode when Tom decides to break up with her. Right before it. He's like, they went to like his place and she got to see his mom, right? And the entire time her mom was like giving her like these side eyes, these huffs, these puffs, and then at the end of it she just cried because she's like, oh, I don't really like the way that you treated my boy. Like, he built a carriage for you when he was trying to take her to the blood moon ball. They showed pictures of them together and it just made her cry. And then Star's like, did I do something to upset your mom? And he's like, oh, it probably has to do because you kissed Marco while they were dating. And it was wrong, right? Marco was actually the one who kissed her, but still, it's
And
like
there were
the fact,
circumstances.
the fact that she didn't tell him, and then she was like, you knew about that and you didn't tell me? And she got mad because he didn't tell her that he knew that they kissed, and then she got mad and she started to leave, and he was...
So pause button on that though. Okay, as toxic as Star was, Tom talked to his mom about it and not his girlfriend. Like, he went and was like, Mommy, my girlfriend kissed another guy, and the guy came and told me about it because he wanted to let me know that she didn't want it, and she like was super mad and there were circumstances, and now I'm upset at my girlfriend because she didn't tell me about this right away and she was protecting my feelings. And now his mom hates her because he went and cried mommy instead of having a real relationship with his girl. If he was a man, he'd have been like, hey, I wasn't actually okay with the fact that you kissed a guy and didn't tell me, and I know that you didn't kiss him, he kissed you, there were circumstances, but I just don't appreciate that lack of communication and I think I need space for a while. Like, he could have done something to talk to his girl, but instead he was like immediately apron strings, cry mommy. That's a problem. Like, it looked really soft and comfortable, and I understand that like they had to give him like the victim moment for a second because Star had not been respectful of his feelings, but he kept pursuing a girl that kept dumping him. Like, he would not take no.
Listen,
I'm saying that's toxic.
My boy Tom deserved better. I don't know. He tried. He was actually... Do you remember what the conversation was? Because he said, listen, I understand that there were circumstances.
And he still talked to his mom instead of his girlfriend.
Listen,
as much as she didn't talk to him, he didn't talk to her.
They weren't a good match, but I just don't like the way that
it went down bad.
Him.
Yeah, and he looked a lot more mentally healed in that situation. She was flustered and didn't know what she wanted, and she was basically using Tom because he was safe and he pursued her and was comfortable, and she knew that he wanted her and she could like live life uncomplicated with Tom, and that's what she wanted, was not complicated. So she wigged out when he made it complicated, and that was super toxic of her. That was all her fault.
This reminds me of Twilight. This was the complication that they had. The same complex relationship, I think, was set in Twilight.
I mean, it's possible. Depends on how you look at it.
I'm just flabbergasted at the fact that everything these two have been talking about is, again, a children's show.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like, the emotional depth, I just can't get over the fact. Like, why?
I mean, I'd expect this kind of thing from Cartoon Network. I did not expect it from Disney, I'll be honest. Like Disney XD even.
It sounds like you guys are almost describing relationships between people that are on Love Island. But you're not. You're describing relationships that are on a children's show.
The crazy thing is, though, kids are actually having relationships like this right
They
now.
are nasty. That is, I'm sorry, but if you're...
I've heard of preschoolers coming home and telling their parents that they broke up with their boyfriend because they had a crush on someone else, and then they found out their new boyfriend had 3 girlfriends. I'm like, okay, y'all are in preschool, and I
don't
understand
even know what that means.
that those like aren't real relationships, but who is priming your tiny baby brain to think
Disney.
you need to be dating with that many people
Disney.
right now?
Who... I'm sorry, but
Disney.
if you're a parent and you have a young child out there and they're having more drama in their life than you are, like, no. No, I don't know what you need to do. Pray, read the word of God, get counseling, but that is not okay. Like,
Maybe also don't let TV parent your children.
or tablet or TikTok, or just keep them offline. Just don't give them phones. Like, there are people that I know that have given their children phones when they're literally like in the 2nd grade. Why does a 7-year-old need a phone?
Give them a
Yeah.
track phone.
That is complicated with like mixed families where you have like a divorce and then they go over to the parents' house and they need like a phone for that. Like there are exceptions where it's probably a good idea where the kid needs it for safety. Like a lot of kids end up in like cheer and sports and stuff and they need to have a way to contact their parent if something happens. But here's my exception. It could just be a phone that calls and texts. It doesn't have to have other functions. It doesn't have to get on the internet.
You actually don't even need a phone anymore these days.
You could just have a different device.
You could have an Apple Watch and it has the same functions and it doesn't have access to the internet.
There you go.
And that way you can actually, with Apple, like I know they have really good parent features too. Not that you would need it with an Apple Watch, but still, it's nice to have as an option. Switching topics, the other part of this deal, let me know how much you love and are now a fan of Fuller House, please.
I like how that's the mindset you're going into this with.
She primed her thinking. She's like, you love it. And tell me about how much you love it.
I'm so happy.
Okay, so I got to season 2, episode 10. I'm that far in. I think there's like 16 episodes or something.
No way.
Can I just say, I really didn't think I was gonna like it as much as I did. I'm a big fan of Fernando since day one.
I knew it. I knew you were gonna love him.
It's like from since day one. It's just like I know he's a flawed character and he's very flawed at the beginning. Like he's like out actively dating while his wife is like contemplating getting a divorce.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he like still tries to make up with her in the sweetest ways. He's like a sucker for her. He's really flawed in the beginning. But like he grows on you. He's like so dumb.
He's like a blonde. He's like a Hispanic blonde, but he's not blonde. He's like this.
Like a Hispanic golden retriever.
Yeah, that's a really good way
so
to describe
cute.
it.
Gosh.
The way he wins over Kimmy towards like the end of season 1 or the beginning of season 2.
I haven't watched in a while.
Listen, it's cute. It's so cute.
Okay. I know you said you watched a couple episodes of Full House. Do you remember the whole relationship dynamic between Steve and DJ from Full House?
No, I don't remember. Like I think they dated.
Yeah.
They did date.
They basically tried to do a whole Corey and Topanga thing going on, but on Full House. So they were supposed to be like it.
Okay.
And they weren't. And the fact that they're doing like, like the same thing that they did for iCarly.
They really okay.
They're doing like, will they, won't they?
He's cute.
Yeah.
He's cute. Again, another golden retriever. I don't know what it is that they do with these men on these shows that makes them dumb, but in a lovable way.
I love that you love this show. I can't stress how much I love this show. Again, it has moments that I don't love about it, that I don't think are as PG or as wholesome as the original Full House, but it is a really good sitcom, and I'm so happy that it got the amount of seasons that it did, it just shows you how much people loved it.
There was one episode that I did not love as much. And I think it was because it was kind of like, ugh. You know? I don't know what other way to describe it. The episode when they're Kimmy and Fernando's daughter, I forget her name. Ramona, right? She's like hanging out with one of the brothers and then the brother's friend.
Jackson and Paco. You didn't like Popco?
I did not like Popco. Because like the conversation that they had was she was like, I think he brought it up. He's like, so have you had your first kiss yet?
Oh, I hate it.
He's like, so how many guys have you kissed? A lot, huh? And then she was like, I don't know what exactly the conversation was, but they ended up kissing. He was like convinced her. He's like, you should just get your first kiss out of the way, right? Because it's not going to be any good anyways. Just kiss a guy that you hate, knowing fully well that she didn't like him. And she's like, okay, so I don't know how old they are. They're probably like 14, 13.
I think about
around that age group. She goes and she kisses him, not once, but twice. And she doesn't like him, mind you. And she's like, oh, okay. So that was something. And then afterwards, she ends up liking him because it's like this confusing age where you're just like, oh, I don't really like this guy. And then she kissed him. She's like, oh, maybe I do like this guy. It's like, he's kind of cute with his hat and everything. Meanwhile, he doesn't care. He just wanted to kiss her. And then he invites her to the movies. And she's like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so great. It's my first date, thinking that he likes her too. He comes with friends and a girlfriend. It was very awkward. And the fact that she lied, she was like, the little brother, he's like, what are you, like, what's going on? Ramona thought this was a date. And she's just so flustered, and she's like, I don't know what he's talking about. She ends up going with this group of friends to the movies. She sneaks off from the movies, goes back home, and she's like, can I just hide in this room for a while? I don't want my parents, because she's been like talking nonstop to her parents about how excited she is for her first date. She hides in there, and she doesn't address it until like the end of the episode where everyone's kind of like comforting her, like, no, it's okay. First kisses aren't special anyways, Excuse me? What kind of advice is this?
Yeah, that's why I say those are the moments I'm just like, I don't know. That's not Family, or I'm sorry, Family Guy. That's not Full House approved.
No.
Not as wholesome. But overall, it's really funny. And it's one of my favorite sitcoms. And I have lots, so. But that one's top tier for sure. At least C or B for me.
I also don't like how DJ?
Yeah.
I understand that it's a whole thing about her picking this guy or that guy. I don't know. Maybe it's just like an American thing now. I don't know. Personally, I don't like how they deal with like dating and their children. Like the children are also witnessing you dating and kissing men.
You're overthinking it.
Am I overthinking it?
I think so. It's not meant to be like that deep. It's just a cheesy sitcom, dude. Like it's okay. It's not okay, but obviously like it's fine. Just ignore it. Keep watching.
Yeah.
And yet she has a problem with the children's shows.
Yeah, that's
because this is not targeted at children.
It literally is, though. It's supposed to be a family show, and you're supposed to watch it with your kids, and that's why they put the children characters in there the way that they do. It's literally targeted towards a family audience.
Yeah.
That's why it's rated what it is.
Well, like I said, I don't like everything about it.
Fair enough.
It's not as wholesome as the original show it's spinned off from. Well, we're going to have to end it there, guys. It's going to be a shorter episode today. But we would like to know your thoughts. Did you love or hate Star versus the Forces of Evil?
And why?
And why? Yeah. What were your ships? And do you think Fuller House is worth the binge watch or not? Let us know. Rate the show. We would love to just hear what you guys love to think.
And tell us your favorite characters are.
Yeah. That would be awesome to know too. All right, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.